Welcome to Speedcubing 101. This is Cube Mom. Thank you for joining me here today. As I alluded to in the last episode, that was a Rubik's World Championship 2025 recap with Tingman. I have another recap here today. She lived on the main stage, 4 worlds. Like many of us, spent more time at the comp than in our hotel rooms. She announced competitors from the main stage, conducted interviews, did commentary, and competed. I'm talking about Alyssa Esparaz. Let me give you a little bit more about her cubing journey before we go into her recap. It was her younger brother, John, who got into cubing first. When they were younger, John and Alyssa's parents were very present and involved with competitions, supporting their children and the cubing community. John and Alyssa are both now delegates. Mom and Dad don't have to help out as much. John is the chair of Speedcubing Canada, and Alyssa is the communications officer. Speedcubing Canada is the WCA recognized regional organization in Canada. The Canadian Championships, so for my American listeners, that's the Canadian Nats. But what we call the Canadian Championships is this week. It's July 24th to 27th in Montreal, Quebec. Yes, there is a live stream. It's twitch.tv/Speedcubing Canada. I will share this at the end of this episode as well, so that you all can say, "Yeah, Mom, I know, you told me already," when I remind you later. Alyssa has a 2014 WCA ID, so that's 4 years before Tingman's ID. She is based out of Ontario, Canada, but this week in some ways is a full circle moment for her because she is in Montreal, like I said, for the 2025 Canadian Championships. And Montreal is also where she first competed in a WCA competition in 2014. Now for you, sit back, relax, whether you were at the Seattle Convention Center for Worlds, watching on the live stream, or you're listening to this and you are brand new to the world of cubing. There is something in this episode for you. Let's go there now. Welcome to Speedcubing 101. Today I have our second recap of Rubik's World Championship 2025. My special guest here today is Alyssa Esparaz. Hello, Alyssa.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Okay, Alyssa, there were so many people, about 7,000 people there live at Worlds, but so many more who couldn't make it for different reasons, wish they could be there. Could you describe Worlds for those who couldn't attend in person?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like you said, there were like 7,000 people there. It was by far the biggest speedcubing competition anyone had ever been to. So it was funny. I was even talking to someone after who was like, yeah, it was my first competition that I've ever attended. And I was like, well, they're not all like this, just to be clear. Like, you really picked like a really good one to be your first. So yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me is like, I don't think even like going into it, any of us were prepared for just how the scale of it, like even like walking into the venue and just like the rooms kept on going and going and going, and you realized you weren't even at the main stages yet. And yeah, just like the sheer number of people. Obviously, I had the opportunity to like be on stage a few times and to look out and just see the amount of people that were out there was so wild. And then obviously just like the community and the buzz around it, that's what's beautiful about any speedcubing competition. But then to have it at this scale, I think a memory that I will always have is just like walking into the lobby of the hotel beside the venue for the first time, like once everyone had arrived, and just being like, oh my gosh, like everyone's here. It was like the hangout area of a speedcubing competition, but it was like in the lobby of the hotel, which often happens at Worlds. But it's just like every time you see that, it's just like, yeah, it was just at a different scale. That's how I would describe it. And so, yeah, so much fun. And then obviously the competitive energy and just seeing the different really historic solves and things that happened. Obviously, we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I just think overall it was such an incredible experience, and like 4 really intense days of everything that makes the speedcubing community really great.
That Sheraton lobby was almost like a 24-hour cubing meetup for 5 or 6 days, actually, because before and after as well. It was really incredible just to like always go, oh, okay, so-and-so's here, so-and-so's here.
Totally. If you wanted to walk through the lobby and you wanted someone to talk to, like you absolutely could find someone. And then there were the times where you're like so tired and you're like, I'm just going to keep my head down and like not
Yes.
stop walking because I like just need to get to my bed.
It was like midnight one night and I was trying to go to the elevator and I was like, oh, this is going to be hard because
Yeah,
like,
totally. Totally.
and when you were saying about like the rooms go on and on in the main stage, I think some of the audience may have heard that there were 1,000 spectator tickets that were released quite late
Hmm.
because the first batch was sold out and a lot of parents didn't realize they had to buy them.
Yeah.
And the organizers, I don't know if many people know, the side stage room was actually supposed to be the main stage room. And that lobby atrium, that beautiful space that had the glass windows, was supposed to be the main entrance instead of the get off the escalator and walk through. But because they needed to accommodate another 1,000 spectators, that's where they had to kind of at the 11th hour change the layout. So then the main stage was over further down and the entrance was going to be different. I can't imagine making all those adjustments like days before Worlds.
Yeah, that is wild. Absolutely wild. But like, what a great problem to have.
Oh, yes. Okay, so Alyssa, you did compete. How
I
is
did.
competing in the largest competition you've ever registered for?
Yeah. Well, I didn't do very well, but I had a lot going on. But it was so much fun. And honestly, I was just happy to be able to compete. And it's funny because I was like on the stream stage to compete just because I was on the stream team. So it's like closer by, it's more convenient. And a few of myself ended up on the live stream while Felix was our guest. And he had made a comment like, she's just happy to be here. And I was like, that is so true. Like, I feel obviously Felix is the sweetest human being. So people didn't think it was like condescending or whatever. But like,
Right.
I was like, no, like, actually, he's right. Like, I am just happy to be here. The fact that I got a spot at Worlds was great because they had the phased registration and qualifying times, obviously, which is absolutely like the right thing to do for championships. And I think that's how we should be doing championships moving forward. And so I had been working really hard to try and get a phase 3 time to kind of like guarantee that I would get a spot in Worlds. And I missed it. It was so close. And so I had to wait for phase 4
Oh,
back in January, I think. And I was like anxiously like, I hope I get a spot. I hope I get a spot. I think I ended up 10th on the wait list when it was all said and done. So obviously that ended up being like a pretty safe spot on the wait list when I got in. But yeah, it was super fun and just really cool. I'm glad that it's going to be on my profile and
mm.
somewhere on that Saturday afternoon, people can go watch the solves if they want and see that they weren't the greatest thing that ever happened, but they were fun. And you were my runner, Joanne. So you're responsible for the fact that they are on the stream and recorded for all time.
Do you know what happened there? There was one, maybe even two cubers
Yeah,
who, yeah,
who
I think,
didn't show. That group ended up not having any featured competitors
yes, I think there were some
because
visa
of no shows.
issues,
Yeah, yeah.
which unfortunately resulted in them not being able to attend. And it was my stage lead, shout out Alex Cohen, so many Alexes, who
Yes.
said, yeah, let's put Alyssa on. Boom. You handled it so well. You handled it way better than I would have.
Well, I got a really good one at the end, so I was happy about that. And then I went back there and was like, did you guys get that last solve on the stream? And they were like, no, Maddie was going at the same time as you. And I was like, replay it.
That's part of what I want to ask you too, because you're part of the behind the scenes. You're able to just kind of go with the flow with them. But before we go there, you've even actually helped organize a major championship before. How did this one compare to other major championships that you've been to or organized?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, again, like the scale of this one was just unlike anything that we've ever seen before. And so I think it's really hard to compare in terms of the organization side of things. Although I think like a lot of things really did scale, and there were a lot of things that obviously we couldn't do something of this scale, and the Cubing USA team did such a great job. I would confidently say Cubing USA is probably the only regional organization in the world that could handle something of this scale. And that's because they have like years and years of experience organizing US nationals. They did NAC last year. They did some of the early world championships, like the early one in Las Vegas. Absolutely. This was just incomparable to anything that we've done before. But anything that we've done before obviously built up to this and enabled us to get to this place as a global cubing community to be able to do something like this. On the flip side, though, obviously what you love is that, like, even at this huge scale, the really beautiful things about cubing and about the community stay the same. There is still that real sense of healthy competition. People are really competitive and really want to win. And all of that stuff is like just what makes cubing great. And you get to see people at the top of their game. But then you also see people just like being so friendly and making friends and building community. And I think for me too, what I love is just seeing people doing the same thing. I made this comment while I was there. It's like, we're all doing the same thing that we do at our local competitions, just like at a different scale. I'm on the mic
Mm-hmm.
making announcements. Delegates are running their stages. People are competing at a high level. Like all of that is still happening just on a way bigger scale. And that's just always so fun to see. And we all get to come together. And that was the case at 2017 Worlds when I was in Paris. These enduring things that are really great about cubing stay the same, even when we are at the biggest competition in the history of the WCA.
And 73 countries represented, just the there's so much in common that we have that comes together. I mean, there was probably at least 6, 7 countries, maybe more, represented on the team I was volunteering on.
Yeah.
And shout out to Daniel from Brazil. He was showing me photos of, like, they don't use cube covers, they use sandbox buckets, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, totally. I think that's one of the like the best parts about a world championship is just the global community coming together. You get to learn about different places around the world and you get to work alongside people who are from a totally different place than you. And I think that's something I really value. We had a couple of interviews on the live stream too, where we just really intentionally wanted to talk to people from smaller communities around the world and just highlight the fact that, okay, not every cubing community is like Speedcubing Canada or Cubing USA or Speedcubing Australia. There are a lot of regional organizations that are quite small and like really trying to develop their community. And that's something that's really exciting when even like they get to come to a world championship like this and learn from other communities and other delegates. And yeah, just that sense of global unity too is really nice. And it kind of has that Olympics feel.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Now, we all know you're part of the live stream. How did you get started being involved with live streams, like before this world? What's the
Yeah,
process?
honestly, it kind of happened by accident. Obviously, being part of doing communications for Speedcubing Canada, I've helped out with our live streams here in 2023. I think that was probably like the biggest stream we've done for Canada at our in Vancouver, and was a part of helping out with that. Then last year for NAC in 2024, I kind of just reached out. And I think actually a big thing for me and people, this wouldn't surprise people, is obviously I'm like a huge advocate for representation of women and girls in cubing. And I had just noticed last year as they were preparing for the NAC live stream in Minnesota that the live stream team was all men. And so I reached out and I just said, like, hey, I think it'd be really great if you guys at least got one woman on the live stream team. I think it's really important. And I had even said, like, I don't mean me. Like, just when we did NEC in 2022 in Toronto, Dana Yee, who many people might know, was on the live stream team then, and she was phenomenal. So I was like, guys, like, call up Dana. Like, she's great. Get her on there. And as things often go in cubing, when you kind of say, hey, we need this, people end up turning and being like, well, why don't you do it? Yeah, so that's kind of what happened last summer. I was kind of like a last minute addition to the 2024 team. Loved it, connected with the team. And then as we were getting prepped for Worlds this year, I ended up carrying that role forward and helping out throughout the year, prepping for this live stream with Kevin Hayes, who led our live stream team.
And can you give us a bit of a picture of what it takes to prepare?
Yeah, a lot for sure. I don't even have full insight into all of it, but I think obviously the biggest thing is we worked with an amazing production company, Happy Feet Productions, Speedcubing TV, who the biggest benefit of that is that they are cubers
Mm-hmm.
and other major championships have run live streams with just kind of like a production company that they like got a quote from randomly in their local community. we're spoiled that we have happy feet and they are specifically focused on doing production for cubing because they just understand things that, when you want a live tracker for results or penalties or different graphics, things like that, they live and breathe cubing and are very passionate about it. So they're phenomenal. Shout out to them. And a lot of working with them to like prepare graphics. I know like for them, just like preparing equipment and all of that stuff. Again, those are the things that I don't have full insight into, but showing up and seeing all the cameras set up and all the tech set up and the fact that like tech honestly went off without a hitch, I was like, the amount of prep work that goes into making sure that the tech for something of this scale is flawless is phenomenal. So that makes our job easy as casters because we can see everything and things aren't going dark suddenly, like all of those kinds of things. So there's all of that. And then for us as casters, I think the big thing is like studying up on storylines, keeping up to date on what's happening in cubing news. We did a very packed schedule of interviews on the live stream because, everyone's here. We should be talking to everyone who's here. And so, you know, scheduling all those interviews, preparing questions for those interviews. And you never want to, this, Joanne, you're so good at it, but you never want to go into an interview with someone and just be asking like very basic questions. You want to be asking things that are like interesting and well researched and all of that stuff. So those are some of the things that we had been doing, but definitely it's real true. Like it sounds like an exaggeration, but basically the day after NAC in 2024, we started preparing for Worlds.
Mm. And so was it what you thought it would be, the live stream?
Totally. I'm super excited about what we were able to put together and bring to people around the world. I'm like not ashamed to say I've been like kind of checking in on like the viewership numbers ever so often, just seeing, and like it's so gratifying to be like literally hundreds of thousands of people have watched this live stream at this point. And what a privilege it is. Honestly, I consider it a real honor that we were able to bring this content to so many people around the world.
I'm just looking.
I think I checked last night and like the last day replay is at like 170,000 or something like that.
Yeah. Wow. 174,000.
Yeah, which is just so cool. Like it's just so cool to see the growth of cubing as well. And, the competitors work really, really hard to be at the top of their game. And so to see so many people appreciating that is really cool.
Do you get nervous before a live stream at all?
A little bit, but not like, I think it's like a healthy amount of nerves in some ways, but also I've been doing this for a long time. A lot of people don't know this, or I think some people know my real job, my like day-to-day job is in communications. So I'm really used to speaking on the fly and talking on my feed and public speaking and all of that stuff. So people often come up to me at competitions. They're like, are you a teacher? How are you so good at this? And I'm like, no, it's my job. Like I should be good at it. I'm glad that I'm good at it. So I think I've learned over the years, definitely how to control my nerves or use my nerves even going into a public speaking moment like that. And so definitely like when I was going on stage to interview Yihang after he won, like I definitely felt a little bit nervous of like, I want to make sure we give this moment the justice it deserves because this is a big moment for him, for the community, and he deserves for this kind of interview and this kind of moment to go well.
And on that, how was it interviewing the podium winners like right after they win too? And let me ask that first.
It's my favorite thing, like my absolute favorite thing. And it was something we did for the first time last year at NAC. And it was like a game time decision last year because we didn't know if we would have the tech to be able to do it and like have the mobile interviews. And then they were so much fun last year and such a hit that this year we were like, we have to do it. And so obviously I came into it knowing we would be doing it. But those moments are just so real and authentic and so gratifying. Like you can see how hard these cubers have been working over the last year, 2 years, years and years, honestly, for that moment. And to be able to be the first person that they speak to after that is really a privilege. And yeah, I think I had favorites almost every day. Like day one, Timon breaks the world record to win 5x5. I could see how much that meant to him. And he gave such an authentic interview then. And I know Timon often like keeps things close to the chest. So to see him like talking so freely was really, really cool and a good moment. And then obviously on Saturday night, with Sebastian winning 4x4 8 years from his last world championship. That is one I'll always remember. And he said to me after, he's like, I can't believe you made me cry. And I was like, that's my job. I was like, I'm kind of happy I did. But like, it just showed just how much that moment meant to him, and to shout out his family back home and all that stuff. Just really a great moment. On Sunday, I think someone had commented like, the best moment of 3x3 finals was Qi interview after she,
Mm.
put down her average. And I agreed. I just loved that moment. She's adorable. I was already such a big fan of Qi before Worlds, but then getting to spend some time with her and getting to know a little bit of her personality and stuff like that, I'm like an even bigger fan now. Again, I consider it a real honor and privilege that I get to be that person in that moment for this competition. And I hope that it also gives something for these cubers to look back on. And it's like a real good memory for them to look back and be like, this is how I was feeling in that moment. And I got to shout out the people that have helped me get there and all of that stuff.
I was thinking that when I was thinking of who I could ask to come on and give a recap, but also people in unique positions for Worlds. And I mean, when you're interviewing them, you're feeling their happiness, but also their sense of relief and the release of emotion after, like you say, years and years of grinding to get to this moment. And then it happened. That's a really special place to be. You're interviewing them, but it's like you're winning with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is like you really get to step into those emotions in that moment.
Now, you also got to interview some very special guests during lunch, as well as throughout the competition.
Mm-hmm.
How is doing that?
Yeah, that's also super fun. Again, it's funny because I think we obviously have such a great and well-rounded team on the streaming team. And so the other guys on the team are so good at commentary, and they break down the solves and the insights and all of that stuff. I am very happy to leave that to them, and like I can do it when the seat needs to be filled, like in first rounds or whatever. But my bread and butter and what I love doing is that storytelling and those interviews. I think a unique thing about this year was that we were interviewing especially some of our Chinese guests and competitors, and shout out to Bai Ling Ho, who was our translator, and he was phenomenal. And I said this to him over and over again, but the mark of a good translator isn't just someone who like translates the words, but is really a bridge builder and a relationship builder. And he really was that. And so that was just so much fun to be able to connect and build that bridge, especially I think bringing some of the Chinese cubing competitors and communities perspective to the North American audience. I think that's so important, and like cross-cultural understanding and building bridges. So that was so beautiful for me to be able to be a part of. That definitely stood out. And then also, like you mentioned, some of those lunch interviews that we did, they were like audible in the venue and on the live stream. I got to interview Phil Yu at the Cubicle and Carrie from the WCA board. And those feel so important to me because I really want people to understand the people that make this community possible. We all get so much out of it. Cubing has changed our lives in so many ways. And it's because of people like Phil and because of people like Carrie who are so generous with time and resources, and you just really invest in the community that any of this is possible. And so I'm always really thrilled to be able to highlight that in those conversations.
Anything else that stood out for you with Worlds?
Oh, what didn't? It was just like such an intense and exciting and thrilling week. Like I will hold on to it for a really long time. It definitely is a core memory now, as they say. It, I think was a life-changing week for so many people in a lot of ways. And so, I mean, the whole thing stands out in so many ways. And for sure, that will stand as a real marker and moment in my life for a long time.
And then what are your wishes for future major championships?
Oh, I think this is a big question in the cubing community right now. I think generally, especially as someone who has like more insight on the organizing side too, there's so many questions just about the scale. Like I said, I think like in this moment, Cubing USA was the only organization in the world that could pull something off like this. And so that's obviously not sustainable by any means. And so I think as great of an experience as it was, I think we also need to think about like, okay, we can't be doing this all the time. And so what does this look like? Yeah, I think my hopes for future major championships is that we continue to really highlight the excellence of our top competitors and really give them an experience that honors the work that they put in the grind, like you said. That's so important. And that's, the objective of a world championship or any major championship is to find the best and give the best an opportunity to perform and showcase their excellence. For me, that's really, really important. And so to me, that's stuff like qualifying times, live stream excellence. We need to keep developing and investing in that stuff. And then on the other side is just, again, how do we continue building the community around cubing and really build those friendships that are built and that really great spectator experience and the cross-cultural experiences and all of that stuff. And so I think the spectator experience will only continue to grow. I know this time some people had said like it was actually better to just go back to the hotel and watch the live stream than sit in the back row of the spectator seats. And I don't want that in the future. Let's get bleachers or be in a theater, like just those better experiences for people in the room. And I think just building that experience around the whole competition, autograph booths, activities, the baseball game. I didn't get to go, but it looked like so much fun. For the average competitor who just comes and, does a few solves, like that's not necessarily the most important part of the weekend for them, the competition part of it. It's the like community part of it. And so how do we, build that into it and just balance all of those things. So obviously I have a lot of thoughts on this. I think a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on like what is the future of major championships in the WCA. I'm just one person, but I know a lot of people are thinking about it, and I think the future is really bright.
Thank you, Alyssa. And just having run a bit on the main stage and seeing you, you're always either preparing or doing an interview or competing yourself. And at one point I'm like, you and Kevin were eating really quickly to like, I guess, sneak in some lunch in between everything. And of course you're on camera, so you've got to freshen up after that too, right? I imagine it was intense because when you're on, right?
Yeah, my voice is still recovering, definitely. You can probably hear it a little bit, but I've like been popping Ricola all week still.
Yes.
Shout out to Ricola, not sponsored.
Thank you, because for one, representing as a female, as a face of cubing, thank you for that. And also just making sure that everything was together for the live stream, because the live stream, yes, it's for people even who were there, but it's also to introduce people to cubing who maybe see, oh, wow, it's going to get to like 200,000 and more, right? So, oh, wow, 200,000 views. What is this, right? And they will be able to see and hear and capture the action, but also hopefully the community that is behind all of this excitement.
Yeah, I hope so. I always think to myself, maybe the next Max Park or the next Yiheng Wang is watching the live stream and hasn't even picked up a cube yet.
That's right. Okay. Thank you, Alyssa. I know. Let's continue to recover.
I know, totally. Thanks, Joanne. It was obviously so fun to see you in person too, and like everyone. And again, it's just like there's so many good memories from the week.
And Alyssa, before I let you go, Canadian Championships is coming up quite quickly, and there is a live stream. Can you give the information on that?
Yeah, absolutely. We will be streaming on Speedcubing Canada's Twitch channel. So you can just search up Speedcubing Canada on Twitch. And we will be streaming Canadian Championships, which is happening Thursday, July 24th until Sunday, July 27th.
Perfect. Thanks, Alyssa.
Thank you.
Thank you again, Alyssa, for your time. I know Alyssa, Kevin Hayes, and the entire stream team make it look easy. But something I took away from listening to Alyssa share is how knowledgeable and accurate they need to be to make all aspects about being a voice on the stream team what it is today. I was also surprised to hear that Alyssa was a last-minute addition to the NAC's stream team in 2024, because I remember Cuber and I watching it, and Alyssa seemed warm, confident, relaxed, knowledgeable, and comfortable with that role. Definitely did not look at all like a last-minute addition. If you're listening to this episode when it publishes, you've got 1 day left if you would like to buy a Worlds 2025 hoodie, shirt, or mat from the Cubicle. So if you missed out because your size was sold out, or you've had some time to think about it and you'd like to purchase one yourself, that is available at the Cubicle website, thecubicle.com. Again, this is your last chance to get a Worlds 2025 t-shirt, hoodie, or mat. You need to order by Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025 at thecubicle.com. Now, are you ready for me to sound like a naggy mom? Because I already told you this earlier, but do check out the live stream of the 2025 Canadian Championships in Montreal, Quebec. The link is at twitch.tv/speedcubingcanada. Speedcubing Canada, all one word, twitch.tv/speedcubingcanada. And best of luck to everyone competing at the 2025 Canadian Championships. You may be wondering, does this skibbity cube mom have another Worlds 2025 recap? The answer is possibly. Be sure to subscribe to Speedcubing 101 to find out. You can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. If you're appreciative of what you're hearing here on Speedcubing 101, I'd love it if you could take a moment to leave a rating or a rating with a review. That helps to let people know this is a good listen. As always, if you have any questions, suggestions, or corrections, please email me, cubemomofficial@gmail.com. That's cubemomofficial@gmail.com. Happy cubing and go Cubers go.